Hey everyone, Once Bitten here. So this is a kind of a weird game in some ways. I was the tournament organizer last weekend, and I was one of two, and there was a player who couldn't show up for the first game on the second day, and he was able to show up afterwards, but I think something came up with work or something like that. So I stepped in at the last minute to play a game, but the problem is I didn't have an army, a list, or anything else. So I'm actually using a list that another player at the tournament was using, and I'm using the models of the other tournament organizer, which is actually pretty cool. The other TO and I, we go way back. We've played a lot Warhammer over the years, and this I love this army he built, kind of this Ulrich themed, wolf hammer themed Empire army. So I thought it was a very good looking army, and it was kind of fun to think I was going to play with it. Now, because this was kind of a I'm stepping in. Basically, I just went to whatever table this was at, where the player who was supposed to be there couldn't show up, but it's at the bottom table of the tournament. So the guy I'm playing against, I think, is a relatively new player. I know he follows my channel to a certain extent, but I think from things he said that he's still relatively new to it. So on the far right off this picture, there's another unit of Quarrelers, and here's another unit of Quarrelers. Um, let's see, and then all his guns, or most of them anyway. So along the back, a grudge thrower, a cannon, and then another grudge thrower, and then up front there's a bolt thrower, and then an organ gun, and right in the middle of all of it is his engineer, and then over here is a bolt thrower, a unit of hammers with a battle standard bearer, and an anvil of doom off the far left. And he's got a unit of miners as well. I don't know the builds because it really just doesn't matter. I know that in the army he has essentially 3 dispel scrolls. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see that in the new army book. I thought his paint scheme was very interesting. I mean, I think basically it looks like uh, he didn't want to necessarily sit down and paint his army, and that could be indicative of a new player that's a little bit hasn't developed a love for painting yet. So he did a very quick technique that actually has a very distinctive and kind of a cool look to it. They kind of look a little bit like rock camouflage. So I think that's a good solution. If that's what he was intending to do, I think that's a good solution. You'll notice I don't have a lot of the builds put on here because, again, it just doesn't matter. It never really affected things. Same with mine. I don't even have my list in front of me, but it just doesn't matter. So here on the far left, I've got a horde of awesome-looking halberdiers. I think he uses those for halberdiers or for great swords. They're just beautiful. It's got a warrior priest in there. Got a unit of I believe handgunners behind him, and I didn't have the models, so we're just using spearmen, and the wizard lord is there. To the right side of this picture is another unit of handgunners, and I decided to put my battle standard bearer in with them, so it's on the far left of this picture. 9 outriders, a cannon, a steam tank, 4 demigriffs, a hurricanum, then 8, I believe, knights, and I don't think they're in a circle. I think those are just regular knights. In with them is a warrior priest, and there's also a grand marshal. Obviously, I think he's a general, and I know that he had the runefang sword, which is like 70 points or something like that. Anything you hit is auto wounded, no armor save, which didn't really affect this game all that much. Behind it, there's a Hellblaster volley gun, and the crew you see down there is actually an engineer. I didn't even use models for crews for the war machines because I just didn't feel like dealing with it. Alright, so I vanguard up with these guys. Really, my thinking there is I want them up so they can just be shooting at some quarrelers, and if he shoots back, he'll win that battle, I think, but I don't care. If he's shooting at them, he's not shooting at more important things. So Empire gets to go first, which is huge. I think so. At the end of the game, my opponent asked me if I had any advice or feedback on a dwarven gun line, and I was like, you know what, just don't play a dwarven gun line. And I think that was kind of maybe unfair. I mean, it's a valid build for dwarfs. I think the problem is that if you face an opponent with really mobile stuff like, I don't know, unit of knights and unit of demigriffs, then your opponent gets to go first, you're in combat turn 2, and it's going to be an uphill battle. And that's certainly how I felt when I went first and moved up like this. I'm thinking, wow, I mean, I've got charges set up for turn 2. Anyway, so I went first and did that. My shooting, I don't think, did much of anything. My magic didn't do anything. He has 3 freaking dispel scrolls. Dwarves went, and then he didn't move, essentially, so this picture takes care of both of it. he starts shooting. He shoots at the steam tank, I believe, with a cannon and does a couple wounds. Really starts picking on my halberdiers. I think the grudge thrower, one or maybe both of them, hit this unit and took it from being big to being nothing. Um, yeah. And then I think he had a bolt thrower that really didn't have a good angle on anything else and just killed a couple more guys. Shoots at the demigryphs, does 5 wounds, so almost cut the unit. If he did one more wound, I'd been from 4 down to 2 models, and that would have been more significant. And then we go to Empire turn 2. So yeah, I mean, here's an overview of the board. But the most important things are at the very top with my knights in with his coilers on the right and my demigryphs and the coilers in the middle. And that's just going to be really problematic for him. I think I put another wound on my steam tank by myself. And yeah, so here's the charge on the right. And I just do 1 wound too few, and he's steadfast and he sticks. And then in the middle, that's my charge with the demis. And I win that and overrun into his organ gun. And again, he's in an awkward situation there. So, Dwarf turn 2, miners come on the board. He's got the Anvil of Doom, so he's hoping to use that to good effect. He reforms his hammers to face the Demigryph Knights, and then he does the larger version of the Anvil of Doom and gets it. So for D3 units, get to make an extra move. And let's see, during shooting, he picks on my Outriders a little bit. And oh wait, I'm sorry, I lied. He tried to go for his Anvil of Doom, and he failed. He went for the big version and failed it, so he didn't do anything with it. So after combat, Knights on the right beat the Querulers. I go ahead and follow them because I think if I didn't, they would have rallied and reformed. And I couldn't reform in a way to hit the flank of the miner unit, and I was just in their front anyway, so I just wasn't worried about it. So I just got the points where I could with the Querulers. With the Demigryphs, I didn't overrun. I just reformed because it's my turn next, and I didn't want to take a chance. I'd rather just make sure I get the charge where I want it. Empire turn 3 looks like that. So basically, you'll see a close-up later, but I took my Warrior Priest out of the depleted Halberdier unit that's down to like 3 models, put them with the Handgunners, and now they're moving up to start carrying tokens around. So the Handgunner unit in the middle with my BSB, grabbed a token. The Halberdier unit that was on the far left dropped the token, and the Handgunner unit where you see him will just move to the left next turn and pick up that token. And Halberdier unit went from 40 or whatever down to 3. It's just depleted. Now the problem is he depleted that unit, but that unit wasn't the threat. And it wasn't going to be a threat for another couple turns. The threat were the Knights. But then again, grudge throwers aren't great against Knights. So charges in the middle. I charge the Engineer with my demis. I charge the Bolt Thrower with my Outriders. And let's see over here. Yeah, you just see my Inner Circle Knights reform. I just want to make sure he couldn't charge me. And now he has. I don't think he's going to be able to see the Demigryphs, so the best he can do is reform and charge with the Anvil of Doom, and there's nothing I can do about that anyway. So after combat, both units win, and they overrun. Let's see, the Demigryphs make it into the cannon. The Outriders don't, and they're standing, I believe, just in front of that grudge thrower, I think. Dwarf turn 3. He reforms or moves both his units, as you can see. He either failed charge or wasn't going to be able to charge with either one of them. So he did that, and again, he's going to hope for the Anvil of Doom, big version to move him into combat. And he gets it. The hammers couldn't quite make it there. That's a bummer. But they were far enough away. But the miners get a flank charge into the Demigryphs. Now, normally I would like to think that if you get a flank charge with a ranked up infantry unit into a single rank of anything, that you should win combat. But the problem with the current meta, or the current game of Warhammer, is you have this monstrous cav that do so many wounds. I'm going against the cannons with 2 of my 3 demis, so you know I'm going to get 3 wounds there. And then the 1 demi to the side with a stomp is going to almost certainly get a 4th wound. And then I still have 4 attacks to hopefully do a few more wounds. He has a charge, a flank, 3 ranks. He starts at 5. I'm guaranteed 4 or 5. Not only am I likely to stick, I don't have a bad chance of winning that combat. And that's kind of a shame. If you look at the top left, I have 5 Outriders right there. I don't know what happened to them. My guess is, if you see this picture, they're no longer there, but he has 1 crew on his grudge thrower. I just don't know what happened. I don't know if I wasn't in combat and he killed him, or shot him or what. I can't remember. It makes no sense to me looking at the pictures. But anyway, that's what it is. Empire turn 4. Steam Tank and Cannon are going after his Anvil of Doom every time. The Cannon can barely see it, so I have to roll a perfect, I think at 10 inch or whatever I choose. So I have to exactly hit that to hit the Anvil of Doom. Steam Tank's gunning for it, but he is, I miss it, or I miss fire, or he has a ward save or whatever. Meanwhile, my infantry troops with those tokens are walking away, just securing them. Yeah, this is overkill. I actually won combat with my Demigryph Knights, so they turn to face the miners. My other knights charge in the rear of the miners. My Hurricane comes in because it's the easiest way to get them the +1 to hit. And those miners got killed down to, I believe, one guy, maybe two. I pursued with my Hurricane. Otherwise, I reformed with the other units. Dwarf turn 4. Yeah, he actually backs up his hammers. I don't know. I don't know what he should have done there. Either way, it was going to be tough. But anyway, he backs him up. And then we took the move back because it was so funny. He put him in the woods because he wanted me to take dangerous terrain, and then I was like, yeah, but you're not steadfast in the woods, so I let him move up here. And then then we were thinking, oh wait, you're hammers, you're stubborn anyway. And I said, screw it, it doesn't matter. Just so he's there. I mean, I'm wondering if the best thing would have been to charge him anyway and just hope that he whittles me down before I whittle him down. But regardless, dwarves aren't in a good position. So Empire turn 5 looks like that. Yeah, obviously the Demigryph Knights go into the hammers. The Knights go into the Grudge Thrower. The Hurricane reforms to face the last remaining Bolt Thrower, or the second to last remaining Bolt Thrower. The Steam Tank and Cannon, both picking on the Anvil of Doom, finally are able to get past the ward save. I actually got past it twice, but the first time I only did 2 wounds, so the second time the Cannon picked it off. So the Anvil of Doom is now gone. And after combat, it looks like that. Yeah, the Demis just put a real hole in the hammers. The hammers did a few wounds to the Demigryph Knights. Yeah, the Knights couldn't quite overrun into the Bolt Thrower, but who really cares? I think during the Magic phase before, I think I dropped a comet near these hammers because I think the Demigryphs didn't kill all those hammers. I think I had some magical help there. But either way, you can see the hammers are greatly depleted. Otherwise, it's like that. And this is my end of game picture. Actually, the hammers got killed to a man. He had the BSB left, and he either got killed or was broken from combat. My Hurricane charged in there. I actually thought this was turn 4 or 5. It was turn 6. But it didn't matter. At this point, we would have conceded the game anyway. All they had left was a single Bolt Thrower, and I was going to be able to charge it with my Knights on my next turn. And even if this is the end of the game, it didn't matter. So, yeah, a huge win for the Empire, but it was almost won before the game even started. Now, the one thing if you're willing to do it, if you've played with or against Dwarven gunlines, if you have any advice for my opponent as a new player, especially if it's respectful and constructive and stuff, go ahead and post it. I really don't have advice for it. I think the only thing I can think of is you probably need to concentrate your fire on the most immediate threat. So in this case, I had Demigryphs and a unit of Knights, and it's tough. It's tough to get past the armor on both of them. Plus, having 2 units, you can't just pick on one. Grudge Throwers aren't wonderful against cavalry, so I don't know. But I know, when you shoot a cannon at the Steam Tank, I appreciate the desire to do that, but the Steam Tank wasn't an immediate threat. So if the cannon were going against Knights, that might have, even if you can only get one Demigryph, it helps. So concentrate fire on the most immediate threats. It seems to me that it'd be wise to spread out your war machines, but I could see why he had them together because he had an engineer and wanted to use that benefit for any of them that needed it. But once I got in there, it was real easy to mop up all the war machines because they were so close. So I'm not an expert on it. So if anybody wants to offer feedback for anyone else who plays or wants to play a Dwarven gunline, post comments below, and I'm sure it would be appreciated. So that's it for that game. Hope you enjoyed it.